How do I even start these? Anyways, so I said anyways again. Recently, I've been reading this book called The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz, and at first it does seem like from the title that it's your typical positive thinking book and you have to do this tactic and that tactic, but there's a lot of things that when I read were like, oh fuck, huh? Yeah, that seems obvious. And then when I actually started implementing these things, that's when it hit me that the actual positive thinking that comes when you try and implement it deliberately is very different from what you would actually think normally. And that's when I journaled about it a few days ago. And I wrote, since the mind always thinks in pictures, I have become slightly more aware of the kind of pictures or thoughts it usually has. So that was one of the things that the book said, that you don't think thoughts in terms of thoughts or in words, but in actual pictures. And when I became aware, I was like, yeah, whenever you think of something bad happening, you think of the image of it happening. Whenever you think of a good memory, you think of the image that it was, not what was said or what wasn't said. And that really gave me just some insight as to how to actually go about thinking positively. And also I wrote, it is incumbent upon me to serve only positive pictures to my brain. I am also learning a lot about general social interactions and to not harbor any hatred towards anybody or anyone for that matter. I always think in positive pictures. It will always serve you well to do so. And that just really hits so hard because it's so simple, but still, if you do it, if you actually go about thinking positively, thinking in positive pictures, where you have an exam coming up, let's say you have a deadline coming up, and instead of your default, which is going to be think negatively, you performed bad in the exam, you did not submit the paper on time. Instead of doing that, you could actually think you studied and you actually scored so well in the exam. You sat down to work and you actually submitted the assignment on time. You actually started the business and you actually succeeded in it. To think of these positive pictures, to think of these in very real terms in your brain, that is how the world actually then serves you well, because in your own mind you're able to form this placebo of, okay, yeah, I'm good at this, I can do it, I will do it, and therefore you do it. Also, another book which I have is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. This one also mentions, which is somewhat wishy-washy, that you will think of these things and then they will happen to you and the entire world will come together to just give you whatever you want and the universe has its unlimited power, which seems kind of wishy-washy. But then again, when I actually implemented these things, this book, when you hear someone tell you that it's about that in particular, where it's about you thinking, you about visualizing and all the manifestation bullshit that people often just disregard as being nothing, it's about that, but it's also about you taking action for it. So if I want to have a new PR for squat, bench and deadlift, let's say within the next year, and a significant increase to what I have right now, I'm not only going to think it, I'm going to visualize it, and then also take just action where I'm going to bulk properly, I'm going to eat clean and just always keep practicing my technique on the compound lifts, keep practicing them in moderation with the proper structure, and all of these things almost magically they come to you in automation when you keep visualizing and you keep thinking about achieving certain things. Where I have it stuck right there that I want to be 85 kgs with a 495 deadlift, 405 squat and 315 bench by November 2023. And it's a reasonably unreasonable goal because my bench right now is like, those are in pounds because it's easier to just think in number of plates on your bar. But my current is 130 kg deadlift, 100 kg squat and 70 kg bench. So that to me is reasonably unreasonable, where it's almost, how am I going to hit that goal? But also it is reasonable enough for me to feel that, you know what, if I really try hard, I actually might do it. So that's how it happens in my brain, and I actually visualize myself doing the things, doing that, actually lifting the bar, actually doing the squat, bench, and deadlift in my brain, feeling the barbell and everything, properly visualizing it, and then also thinking about the actions that will be required, where I need to have a clean diet, I need to practice my technique, etc., etc. That, when related to the thought of you thinking in pictures and you just absolutely forcing a positive picture in your brain, where you need to be aware, where also presence comes into play, therefore you should meditate as well, but you should be aware of the thoughts that you're thinking, where there's an exam coming up, immediately your brain will go to, you failed in the exam. No, you should go to, I studied, I took action, I knew what was to study, I knew the paper pattern, I knew what was gonna be asked, therefore I studied that, I studied well, I studied with focus and determination and grit, therefore I got good marks, I got good grades in the exam. That's how it usually works for any goal that you have. You have a goal of, let's say, starting a business, you have to visualize you getting the actual paycheck from the business. You have to visualize what kind of business, you have to visualize you taking action, and then just automatically that will happen. It is inbuilt in your system to take action when your brain is constantly thinking of that, when your brain is constantly commanding you of it. This is also mentioned in another Hamza video where he talked about increasing his testosterone. It was 441 nanograms per deciliter in about March or April of this year, 2022, and he just almost like autistically, he kept saying that, okay, my testosterone is going to increase, is going to be this particular nanograms per deciliter. He said 724 nanograms per deciliter, and he just kept saying that, like almost trying to hypnotize his own brain into thinking that. And when you actually do that, which I also did, it almost magically again shifts your entire body's and your entire brain's like balance into doing that thing, achieving that goal. I did the exact same thing. Now I got it checked in June, where my testosterone levels were 644 nanograms per deciliter, and I haven't checked, but after that I saw the video and I implemented the things that he said, and soon funnily enough, I met a few friends which I don't meet often, and one of them said, "Ki Dave, your beard is growing quite a bit of late." And I met him in the previous month. We meet like once a month, like not planned, but we do meet. And he said that, and I was just smiling internally, knowing the fact that whatever I was doing, whatever the thoughts that I was telling my own brain, whatever pictures I was feeding my own brain, were working properly. And just that, when you continuously do that for just everything, for your health, for progress in the gym, for progress in your mental health, for progress in your business, academics, etc., relations with your family, relations, social skills, everything, it just becomes this thing where you only will think positively, not because at that point you're forcing yourself to, but because your brain knows that it's good to think positively, because only good results will come from positive thinking. And that is basically how you begin. That is a very good way to also begin your self-improvement journey. You start becoming more aware. You start forcing yourself these new, positive, better pictures that you want for your future, and slowly but surely, it becomes the real thing.